Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How are we doing today? Day 7 of the 30-day Black History lesson by myself, Rick Titus, or as my ancient Egyptian name is, Net Shetep Ma'at. He who brings good news is satisfied with righteousness. This was given to me by a master teacher, and I am very honored to have it. And that is why I teach these messages. Today, number 7. We call this one Reclaiming the Moorish Grid. The reason why I was inspired to do this particular lesson is because of all the miseducation that we have been taught as a people. Honestly, and the latest thing that I've been seeing is the Tartarian nonsense. Oh my God, give me a headache or what? What a bunch of nonsense. Anyway, what we're going to explore today is the Kemetic Moorish architecture built by your ancestors, the melanated geniuses in America, right here for the last 300 years. They've been stealing credit from them, calling these buildings Greek revival, Roman inspired, or inventing entire fake civilizations like Tartaria. Like, what are you talking about? Tartaria, to explain away the obvious that these buildings are North African. They are Moorish, North African. I'm not going to call them Islamic because no, people weren't Islamic before they were Moors. Okay, overlay. And the people who built them, black masons, Moorish craftsmen, enslaved Africans who carried sacred geometry in their minds and their hands, free black artisans who maintained a 5,000-year building tradition even while being written out of every architecture textbook. Isn't that crazy? So today, I'm going to show you the evidence, building by building, city by city, well, the major ones anyway. By the end of this lecture, you'll never look at a courthouse dome the same way ever again. You'll never walk past a Freemason's temple without knowing what it really is, and you'll never believe the Tartarian psyop again. Shall we begin? Yes, we shall. Section 1. The Moorish architectural language. What makes architecture Moorish? Before we tour America, you need to know what to look for. So Moorish architecture has a specific visual language, elements that appear again and again from Cordoba to Cleveland. Here we go. So feature 1, what we are actually looking for is feature 1, the horseshoe arch. The horseshoe arch is the signature. It's wider than a semicircle. The curve extends past the vertical line. It's distinctly Islamic. Well, we're not going to say Islamic. We're going to say it's distinctly Moorish. The Romans didn't build it like this. The Greeks didn't build it like this either. The origin, North Africa and Spain, 8th century. You see it in the Great Mosque of Cordoba, 856 horseshoe arches holding up that forest of columns. Whoa! Right, so the function of these is not just structural. The arch shape is an acoustic resonator. It channels sound and electromagnetic frequencies. The wider curve creates a broader field of resonance than a Roman semicircle arch. Where you'll see it in America, courthouse windows, train station entrances, university buildings, Freemason lodge doorways, even some churches. Feature 2, the dome. The octagonal or ribbed dome. Doesn't sound right, but yikes. Feature 2. Okay, so domes are everywhere in Moorish architecture, but not just any dome, specifically octagonal domes, ribbed construction, or muqarnas, honeycomb interiors, right? The origin, the Dome of Rock in Jerusalem, 691 CE, octagonal drum, golden dome. This becomes the template for Moorish domes worldwide. The dome is a resonance chamber. It's not a decoration, it's a resonance chamber. It focuses acoustic energy at the center. It generates electromagnetic standing waves. The octagon has specific harmonic properties. 8 sides representing the 8 gates of paradise in the Moorish cosmology, but also 8 fundamental frequencies in harmonic series. Where you'll see it? In America, every state capital, county courthouses, city halls, the U.S. Capitol Dome is a direct descendant of Moorish dome architecture passed through European cathedrals. Say it ain't so. Feature 3, the geometric tile and patterning. Moorish architecture is famous for intricate geometric patterns, no representational images. So everything is geometry, stars, hexagons, octagons, interlocking patterns that repeat infinitely. The origin of it, the sacred geometry is from Kemet, Egypt, preserved and expanded through Islamic mathematics, right? So Islamic, why do they keep saying Islamic? It's not Islamic. Anyway, origin, sacred geometry from Kemetic Egypt, preserved and expanded through Moorish mathematics, right? Moorish mathematicians encoded the golden ratio, root angles, and divine proportions into architecture. Function, these aren't decorative geometric patterns. They are frequency templates, like sematics. When you play frequency through sand and it forms geometric patterns, these tiles encode specific frequencies into the building's fabric. They are not cosmetic as many people think. That's just part of it. Where you'll see it in America, mosaic floors in Capitol rotundas, the work in Freemason temples everywhere, terracotta facades on 1890s to 1920s buildings, pressed-in ceilings with geometric patterns. Hello. Feature 4, the central courtyard with fountain. Moorish buildings classically have an open central courtyard with a fountain at the center. The courtyard is surrounded by columns or arches. The origin, the courtyards in mosques, the Alhambras, Court of the Lions, Persian gardens with 4-part layouts representing paradise. Function, the fountain is an electromagnetic conductor. Moving water carries iconic charge. The courtyard geometry creates acoustic resonance. Trees and plants in the courtyard enhance the bioelectrical field. Where you'll see it in America, university quadrangles. Going to the quad. Many are Moorish courtyard derivatives. Some government buildings with interior courtyards, reflecting pools on the National Mall in D.C. These are all Moorish. You understand? Feature 5, columns in forest arrays. The hypostyle hall, a forest of columns creating a covered space. Cordoba's Great Mosque is the ultimate example. 856 columns in a geometric grid. The origin, Egyptian hypostyle halls, Karnak Temple, transmitting through Moorish architecture. Columns aren't just holding up the roof. They're conductive pathways. They channel electromagnetic charge from the foundation, underground water, piezoelectric stone, up to the dome or roof, the broadcast point. The spacing creates resonance chambers between columns. Do you get it? Where you'll see it in America, Capitol crypts, right? U.S. Capitol has 40 columns beneath the rotunda. The courthouse basements, large public halls with repeated column grids. It's all there. Now, moving on to feature 6, red and white striping. Ablaq, they call it, A-B-L-A-Q. The two-tone voisier pattern, alternating red and white stones in arches. You see this at Cordoba, red brick alternating with white stone. The origin, this is during the Mameluke period, brought to Spain by the Moors. The function, visual encoding of duality, positive and negative, masculine, feminine, electromagnetic polarity, not just decoration. This represents the fundamental structure of the universe. Where you'll see it in America, some courthouse arches, terracotta and limestone banding on buildings, brick and stone alteration alternation in 1800s construction. So keep these 6 features in mind as we tour American buildings. Watch out for horseshoe arches, octagonal or ribbed domes, geometric tile or patterning, central courtyards with water, column forests, and red and white striping. When you see 3 or more of these in one building, you're looking at Moorish architecture. Even if they call it neoclassic, even if they call it Tartarian, it's Moorish, and it was built by Moorish masons. Hello? Oops, 1 second. So again, let's look through the architecture as electromagnetic machine. Okay, that's what they keep leaving out. This is an electromagnetic machine. Do you understand? The structures are not merely sheltered or art, they are nodes in the electromagnetic grid. Okay, they function as electromagnetic resonators and capacitors designed to harness Earth's telluric currents. The function, alignment with the Schumann resonance and transmission via pineal activation. Again, these structures are meant to coexist with you, right? As a neural link. The materials, copper, which is blood conductive, obsidian, piezoelectric, red granite. Engineering constructed by melanated Moorish engineers with a 315,000-year legacy, utilizing mental blueprints from Senegambia and the Gold Coast. Tell me what you know. So again, let's review a little bit, right? The erasure, Tartarian myth versus Moorish reality. The Tartarian theory posits that white giants or mud flood built these impossible structures. The goal, a deliberate whitewash to explain why advanced construction while maintaining the myth that melanated people were unskilled laborers. The code, neoclassical and Romanesque, are code words for stolen Moorish science. It is a myth, Tartaria, a total myth. The mechanisms, the method, 1452 to 1493, the papal bulls declared non-Christians, Moors, had no rights, stripping them of titles. 1854, the Convergence, the Clergy Reserves Act and orphan trains, burned records, and reset the population, recasting the builders as slaves or immigrants. Crazy, right? So 1854 was a huge reset where they started doing all the reclassifying, the colored classifying, Indian, black, all these different names they gave us, mulatto. There's a whole bunch of different ones, but we'll get into that another time. And the census records, a lot of them were burned. So many fires happened in this period of time, 1854 to like 1860, actually 1890. So many fires. Honestly, if you actually take the time to look at how many fires are burnt, like burned down a lot of these admin buildings and churches, and they bulldozed neighborhoods where all these Moorish ancestors are living, man, you cannot believe what's going on right now. I'm telling you, it's crazy. But over this 30 days, I'm going to tell you how crazy. But we're going to reclaim it and make it better, okay? So don't worry about it. Right. So then we go to the benchmark, the Cordoba standard, right? So this was a Moorish build in Cordoba. The math, the horseshoe arch is constructed at the 1.6185 ratio, right? So you can see all the arches, the resonance, ribbed vaults, engineered to create visceral acoustic resonance, right? So resonance that you can feel. 2 to 10 hertz of energy that it was creating, okay? 2 to 10 hertz of resonance, right? The navigation, the mirab aligned to the Qibla with 1 degree accuracy, utilizing Dogon level star navigation. The link, this specific geometry was exported to America via Phoenician, Moorish, oceanic routes predating 1492. Y'all think we don't know, huh? I figured it out. And I got a decode that is beautiful. Nice try. All right, then. So let's start at the Capitol domes, okay? Built 1793 to 1863, construction phases. The dome completed 1863, cast iron replacing earlier wood dome. Architect credited William Thornton, Benjamin Latrobe, Charles Bulfinch, and Thomas U. Walter. The actual builders, hundreds of enslaved black masons. Names mostly lost. Moorish features, the dome, cast iron, 88 meters tall, 287 feet to state Statue of Freedom. Octagonal drum at the base, 8 sides equals Moorish sacred geometry. They call it Islamic, but it's actually Moorish. Islamic is just this is when Islam put their influence on the Moors because they were conquering them, right? In that region, North Africa, they were conquering them. So they basically, either they tuned in with the religion, or they faced a lot of persecution, a lot of death, and slavery, which in that region was about 1,300 years long. Yeah, and over 15 million Africans killed. Just so you know, okay? The rotunda. Okay, so the dome. Rib construction, 36 columns around the exterior, creating vertical ribs. Compared to Dome of the Rock, octagonal, 691 CE, St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, which itself copied the Moorish domes via the Crusades. Okay? The rotunda, 29 meters diameter, opens to the dome above, functions as an acoustic resonance chamber. Whisper at one side and you hear it across the room. Amazing. Geometric floor pattern, compass rose design equals sacred geometry. It's all there, the crates. Below the rotunda, 40 Doric columns in concentric circles. Unbelievable. Originally designed to hold Washington's tomb, never used. Washington buried at Mount Vernon. Grid function. This is an electromagnetic capacitor. The columns compress the air and ground moisture beneath the massive weight of the dome. The pressure generates piezoelectric charge in the surrounding stone. This charge flows up through the columns to the dome, which broadcasts it. Who built it? Philip Reed, enslaved man who cast the Statue of Freedom, the bronze statue on top of the dome. His name survived because the statue broke during installation, and only he knew how to fix it. Hundreds of unnamed enslaved workers quarried stone, laid foundations, built walls, and installed the dome. The knowledge: these were not unskilled laborers. Enslaved Africans brought from Senegambia, the Gold Coast, the Bight of Benin, regions with Moorish influence and Moorish building traditions. They carried sacred geometry in their minds. The white architects may have drawn plans, but the masons who built it knew the proportions, knew the alignments, knew what they were building. State capitals. The pattern repeats. Now let's tour the states, and I'll highlight a few more, but the pattern is everywhere. Texas state capital, Austin, Texas. One moment here. Okay, let's get into it here, right? So we're looking at the Pennsylvania state capital in Harrisburg. So I lived in Harrisburg. I saw it. It was built 1902 to 1906. The architect credited Joseph Houston. Cost $13 million. Houston and others convicted of graft in 1908. They was stealing. Okay, there was scandal over the cost of it. Okay, the Moorish features. This is one of the most explicitly Moorish state capitals in America, and they cannot hide it. The dome is based on the St. Peter's Basilica, but with American Renaissance styling, which is code for Moorish influence. The work: extensive Moravian tiles with geometric patterns throughout the building. Moorish sacred geometry, or what they call Islamic. I hate that, by the way. So annoying. The grand staircase, modeled after the Paris Opera House, which itself borrowed from Moorish design. Senate and House chambers, ornate with green and gold tile mosaics, geometric patterning. Like, dude, like this is honestly, you have to understand like just how much they've taken from the culture of melanated people. The rotunda, painted murals, but the architecture underneath is pure Moorish. Arches, columns, geometric proportions. What they admit, the official Capitol website says Houston was inspired by Renaissance and Baroque architecture. But what they don't say is Renaissance architecture is borrowed heavily from Moorish Spain after the Reconquista. Baroque is European elaboration of forms that originated in Moorish North Africa. You cannot play. It is so obvious that these things are Moorish built. So obvious. The Minnesota State Capitol, St. Paul, built 1896 to 1905. The architect credited Cass Gilbert. The dome, second largest self-supported marble dome in the world after St. Peter's. Morris features massive white dome, visible for miles. Interior rotunda with geometric coffered ceiling. Extensive use of Minnesota stone, local materials, but proportions equal sacred geometry. Of course, four golden horses on the roof, quadriga sculpture, ancient symbol, but positioning equals astronomical marker. You understand? And the last one, this one I also saw as well. The West Virginia State Capitol, Charleston, built 1924 to 1932. Architect credited, Cass Gilbert, same as Minnesota. Dome, 89 meters, 293 feet, taller than the U.S. Capitol. Moorish features, gold leaf dome, Moorish gold dome tradition or Islamic gold dome tradition, Dome of the Rock, Ottoman moss, position on the Kanaiwa River, water conductor. Art Deco interior details, 1920s and 1930s. Art Deco incorporated Moorish geometric motifs heavily, like we did. Honestly, the pattern is across all 50 states, y'all. I could go through all 50, but you'd see the same elements: the domes, the rotundas, the columns, the geometric floors, the position near water. They call it neoclassic. We know it's Moorish, and it was built by Moorish masons whose names were erased. Yikes! Okay, now we are getting to the courthouses. So, section 3, the courthouse network, Moorish justice temples. Okay, every county in America has a courthouse. Most were built 1850 to 1930, and most of them are Moorish. Yes. Courthouses aren't just civic buildings, they're electromagnetic anchor points positioned at county seats, often at the geographic center of the county, almost always near water. The grid function: legal decisions are made in these electromagnetic enhanced spaces. Juries deliberate in these resonance chambers. The architectural influences consciousness, not mind control, but harmonic alignment. The 7.83 hertz field, the Schumann resonance generated by the domes and columns, entrains brain waves to theta state, receptive and intuitive. Here's an example of a courthouse. So this is the Allegheny County Courthouse, okay? Built 1884 to 1888. The architect credited Henry Hobson Richardson. Style labeled Richardsonian Romanesque, named after the architect, avoiding Moorish label. Oh my God, this is so annoying, by the way. I'm getting annoyed reading this, okay? Because I understand all this stuff. I really do. And it's only recently that I've understood this stuff, and it's very annoying. All these buildings were built by Moors, all of them, or have so much influence on them. To say that it's not Moorish is so annoyingly wrong. Anyway, the features of this Allegheny County Courthouse: massive stone arches, rounded almost horseshoe in some windows. Central courtyard, interior light well with fountain at the top. The tower, 90 meters tall, 300 feet, functions as electromagnetic broadcast antenna. Granite construction, piezoelectrical properties. What they say: Richardson was inspired by Romanesque architecture, medieval European churches. Grid truth. Romanesque equals European term for architecture that borrowed from Byzantine and Moorish Islamic sources after the Crusades. These rounded arches are one step away from the horseshoe arches. The courtyard with fountain is pure Moorish. The tower is minaret derivative. Who built it? Working class immigrant labor. Italians, Irish, some black workers. The skilled stonemasons who knew the sacred geometry portions. Many are from Moorish lineages or trained in guilds that preserved Moorish techniques. Y'all lying. All right, let's continue. The Shelby County Courthouse, Shelby, Tennessee, positioned near the Mississippi River Conductor. The Shelby County Courthouse, Memphis in 1909. Okay, Mississippi River Ley Line Resonator and Parents Patray Enforcement Hub. Built by Moorish Guild descendants during the post 1854 record burning window, channeling comedic precision through European academic laundering. Okay, the Moorish precision signatures. Tier 2 evidence, massive dome. Dominates skyline like Cordoba's Merab Dome, channeling telluric currents via the Mississippi River water conductor. Ocean trade routing parallel. Phi ratio proportions, encoded Fibonacci DNA harmonics. Ionic columns, or the colonnade. Kemetic temple fonts. Greece, Rome, Moorish Spain, Beaux Arts, right? So these are temple fonts. Greece, Rome, Moorish Spain, Beaux Arts. Ionic volutes equals stylized lotus papyrus from Egyptian originals handled by melanated architects. Geometric interior, mosaic floors and coffered ceilings equals Moorish, Mocarnas, and honeycomb vaulting derivative. Visceral, resonance activates melanin antennas in courtroom settings. River positioning, Memphis equals global copper grid nexus, Phoenician, Carthaginian trade endpoint. Dome aligns to the 66 node ELF propagation. Beaux Arts equals Moorish code confirmed. École des Beaux-Arts, Paris, 1800s, explicitly taught classical forms traced to Romex Greek, Egyptian, or Kemetic Moorish source. James Gamble Rogers trained there. His neoclassical is just Moorish geometry filtered through 5 layers of white academic laundering. Dome plus geometric interiors equals direct Mezquita-Catedral export. Moorish builders exalted, skilled stonemasons from black Memphis communities and Italian, Irish, Moorish lineages cut the granite limestone with sacred geometry knowledge from Olmec heads, anchor nodes, and Costa Rican stone balls. Rogers sketched, melanated hands engineered the dome's piezoelectric charge capacity. The hijack pattern, identical template, Allegheny, 5 prior sites, architect credited. White European train, Rogers gets glory. The Beaux Arts erases Moorish Kemetic source chain. Style laundering, horseshoe, right? And then it's Romanesque. Ionic, neoclassical equals a 500-year whitewash post Crusades papal bulls. Labor erasure. So the erases labor. Melanated master masons demoted to labor pool during the 1500 to 1900 extraction. Unbelievable, man. Honestly, our stuff was just hoodwinked, boy, just taken right out from underneath our feet. Woo! All right, on to the Los Angeles City Hall. Built 1926 to 1928, the heights 454 feet tall, tallest building in LA until 1964, by the way. Style labeled Art Deco with modern influences. Moorish features, the tower form, stepped pyramid, ziggurat. Moorish forms, Islamic form, tile work, geometric patterns, and interior rotunda. Hello. Tower top, pyramid with light beacon. Functions as an electromagnetic broadcast point. Position, downtown LA. Originally near LA River. Now mostly diverted, but water table still beneath. Grid function. The tower is an antenna. The step pyramid form focuses on electromagnetic energy vertically. The beacon at the top, originally an airplane warning light, now decorative, marks it as a transmission point. Legal decisions made in this building influenced by the electromagnetic field. This is incredible, by the way. Like, so the Moors are everywhere in America here. Everywhere, you know. Moving on. The Freemason temples, the explicit Moorish connection. Freemasons openly admit they use Egyptian and Islamic symbolism, the compass and the square, the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, the checkered floor. These are Kemetic and Moorish symbols. What they don't say, Moorish Masons built their temples. Melanated people, black folks, y'all built all these temples. You know that, right? The Detroit Masonic Temple, built 1922 to 1926, largest Masonic temple in the world, 1,037 rooms. Architect credited, George D. Mason. Cost, $2.5 million in 1920s dollars. The Moorish features. This building is a Moorish palace disguised as a Gothic revival structure. Of course. Exterior. Neo-Gothic, pointed arches, towers, buttresses, but the proportions are Moorish. Golden ratio, sacred geometry. The interior, this is where they couldn't hide it. The ballroom, geometric coffered ceiling, Moorish tile patterns. The theater, ornate with horseshoe arches, Moorish columns. Ritual halls, multiple lodge rooms, each with checkered floors, electromagnetic polarity grid, geometric ceiling patterns, Egyptian Moorish murals. Islamic, come on. The Egyptian hall, one of the ritual spaces, is explicitly called the Egyptian hall. It has lotus columns, copied from Luxor and Karnak, hieroglyphic murals depicting Egyptian gods and pharaohs, Sphinx statues, geometric floor in black and white marble. The symbolism. They admit, Freemasons say the Egyptian imagery represents ancient wisdom. They're right, but they don't say this is Kemetic knowledge, and it was built by Black Masons who maintained this tradition through enslavement and suppression. That's what they don't say. Who built it? The official record credits George Mason and the construction company, but who were the actual stonemasons, plasterers, tile workers? Many were black craftsmen. Detroit in the 1920s had a significant black population, great migration bringing southern black workers north. These men carried Moorish building traditions. Grid function, the Detroit Masonic Temple is an electromagnetic powerhouse. Multiple ritual halls equals multiple resonance chambers, each hall tuned to a different frequency. Egyptian hall, 7.83 Schumann resonance. Other halls equals harmonics. Ceremonies conducted in these spaces equals pineal activation, consciousness expanding, and grid interface. Whoa! The House of the Temple in Washington, D.C. Built 1911 to 1915. Location 1733 16th Street Northwest, 13 blocks north of the White House. Organization, Supreme Council, 33rd degree Scottish Rite Southern Jurisdiction. Architect credited, John Russell Pope. Moorish features. This building is modeled after the mausoleum of Halicarnassus, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world in modern-day Turkey. Exterior, massive pyramid roofs, stepped pyramid, ziggurat form equals Egyptian Moorish claim. Okay, the columns, 33 columns, one for each degree of Scottish Rite. Ionic order, but proportion still, phi ratio. Sphinxes, two large sphinxes flank the entrance. Egyptian symbolism. Doors, bronze doors with Masonic symbols. Compass, square, double-headed eagle. All Moorish. The interior, temple room, main ritual hall, geometric coffered ceiling, Ionic columns, altar at the east end, positioned for sunrise and astronomical alignment. The library, shelves of rare Masonic books, ceiling painted with hieroglyphic style symbols. The atrium, skylight in the pyramid roof geometric floor pattern. The 33rd degree, This is the headquarters for the highest degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry in southern United States. Only about 1,500 Masons hold this degree at any time. What are they doing in these rituals? Grid activation, pineal stimulation, preserving Kemetic knowledge. The grid position. The house of the temple is positioned 13 blocks directly north of the White House on the same meridian line. 16th Street is a perfect north-south axis through Washington, D.C. This is not accidental. It is part of Pierre Lafont's Masonic street grid for Washington, D.C. Triangles, pentacles, octagon overlays. Wow, we can go on all day about this stuff. What the fuck is it? This thing's gonna do like 100 fucking miles worth of shit. All right, here we are. And we're looking at now the Duke University Chapel and the Rotunda at the University of Virginia. Let's look at Duke first. Ivy League Gothic arches are Moorish in origin. Built in 1930 to 1935. Dedicated June 2nd, 1935. Architect credited Horace Trumbauer from Philadelphia and Julian Abele, the chief designer, the black melanated architect, rarely credited during his lifetime. No shit. Anyway, style labeled as collegiate Gothic, neo-Gothic. Dimensions 64 meters, 210 feet high to the top of the tower. Length 85 meters, 279 feet. Seating 1,600 capacity. Nave 26 meters, 86 feet high. Materials exterior Hillsborough bluestone, local North Carolina stone, 17 million pieces, hand cut. Interior Indiana limestone, marble oak woodwork. Windows 77 stained glass windows. $2.3 million in 1930s dollars equals $50 million today. Who actually built it? The suppressed story. Julian Abele, 1881 to 1950, the first black graduate. First black graduate of the University of Pennsylvania School of Architecture in 1902. The chief designer for Horace Trumbauer's firm from 1906 to 1938. Designed Duke Chapel. He designed Duke Chapel, Philadelphia Museum of Art, and the Widener Memorial Library at Harvard. Dozens of other major buildings as well. The erasure. Never credited during his lifetime. Trumbauer's firm put Trumbauer's name on all projects. Segregation. Abele couldn't visit many of the buildings he designed. Jim Crow South wouldn't allow black men in the white-only spaces. Can you believe this shit? Anyway, Duke Chapel, he designed it but never saw it completed. Couldn't attend dedication ceremony, not invited. He built it and could not go to see it. I want you to take that in. The knowledge. Abele was trained in Beaux Arts architecture. It called the Beaux Arts principles. But as a black man, he had access to Moorish Kemetic knowledge through family or community traditions. His designs show mastery of sacred geometry, phi racial proportions, astronomical alignments, and acoustic engineering. Man, if we were all slaves, how the hell were we doing that? You have to understand, people. We were not slaves. We were already living on the land for hundreds of thousands of years before Beringia, before all that stuff. We were working these lands forever, a long time. Don't let them fool you. The architectural features here at Duke University Chapel. The design. Carignan bells, the largest, 11,000 pounds. Carillon, 50 bells. Clock faces, 4 sides, visible from 4 miles. Moorish connection. Towers equals minaret derivative. Islamic mosque towers for call to prayer. That's what they look like. European Gothic towers borrowed from Islamic architecture or Moorish architecture via the Crusades. Pointed arches, vertical emphasis, and tower as antenna concept. Grid function, electromagnetic broadcast point, tower apex equals transmission point for electromagnetic field. The bells, an acoustic frequency, 50 different frequencies create harmonic series when rung, right? So it affects the people around them, okay? When played, the bells generate acoustic pressure waves, vibrates through stone structure, piezoelectric charge in the blue stone, electromagnetic field broadcasts from the tower alignment. Tower oriented on north-south axis, astronomical alignment, not random. They can't fool us anymore, man. All right, so you're looking at the pointed arches. You're looking at the Moorish connections. The pointed arches is a Moorish innovation developed in the 7th, 8th century in Islamic architecture. Or European Gothic, 12th, 16th century learned pointed arch from Islamic Spain and Crusader contact with the Middle East. Duke Chapel in 1930s is a revival of Gothic, which is a revival of Moorish. Pointed arches, acoustic waveguide. Ribbed vaults, resonance chambers, combined effect, nave becomes multi-frequency resonance chamber. Like, come on. The organ, 5,000 plus pipes ranging from 32 feet tall to pencil size, 4 manuals, keyboards, and pedal board, grid function, tuned acoustic resonators, electromagnetic effect, acoustic pressure, the stained glass windows, 77 stained glass windows. Great West window, 5 stories tall, depicts biblical scenes. Rose windows, geometric circular patterns, 8 pointed stars and hexagons. Moorish connection. Rose windows, Moorish geometric tradition. Cordoba and other mosques have geometric window patterns. 8 pointed star, Islamic sacred geometry represents 8 gates of paradise. Octagon equals harmonic resonator. Grid function, red glass passes 650 to 70 wavelength light, lower frequency visible spectrum. Blue glass passes higher frequency. Full spectrum windows create a rainbow effect, all visible frequencies. Okay. Feature 5, the crypt, the memorial chapel. Crypt beneath the main chapel contains tomb of James B. Duke, the university founder. It's a meditation space. Grid function, underground chamber equals electromagnetic capacitor. And then feature 6, the nave, the residence hall, 86 feet high. 279 feet long. Acoustic properties, reverberation time. The reverberation time, 4 seconds. Sounds take 4 seconds to decay after source stops. This is long. Concert halls aims for 2 to 2.5 seconds. Duke Chapel equals a cathedral acoustic. Effects, choral music, organ music sustains, overlaps, creates harmonic wash. All right, so the Duke Forest watershed as well, 15,000 acres surrounding the campus, multiple streams and creeks. Sandy Creek equals 1 mile east, Jordan Lake Reservoir, 15 miles west. Massive water body, water table beneath campus, shallow. Piedmont region, water accessible 10 to 30 feet down. Geological substrate, Triassic basin sediment, sandstone, shale, and mudstone. Okay. The grid position analysis. Why this location? It's an elevated position. Chapel on the highest point of West Campus, visible for miles. Water access, geological transition zone, regional hub. Astronomical alignments, the tower orientation, as you can tell. North-south axis, not aligned to cardinal directions exactly, slightly offset by 3 to 5 degrees. Astronomical alignment to Pacific star dates. Okay? So this is a grid function that operates as a regional hub, and it has acoustic frequency, piezoelectric charge, and light frequency modulation. Awesome. Now, the University of Virginia Rotunda, Charlottesville, Virginia. Location, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, built 1822 to 1826, original construction, destroyed by fire. Like I told you, October 27th, 1895. Rebuilt 1896 to 1898, interior redesigned by Stanford White. Restored 1973 to 1976, returned to Jefferson's original design. Architect credited Thomas Jefferson. Come on. Designed while retired at Monticello, inspired by the Pantheon, Rome. Okay, the Pantheon in Rome, 126. Dimensions, diameter 23 meters, exactly half scale of the Pantheon. Isn't that crazy? 43.3 meters. The height, 26 meters to top of the dome interior. The dome, brick masonry covered with sheet metal. Originally wood shingles, replaced 1850s. Material, exterior, red brick. Fired locally. White painted wood columns. Corinthian capitals. Interior, painted plaster, wood floors, original marble. 1896 rebuild. Who actually built it? The enslaved story. Thomas Jefferson gets credit for architectural design. He drew plans, specified proportions, chose Pantheon as model. The educational vision, Rotunda equals library center of academical village. Who Jefferson doesn't get credit for. Enslaved workers, over 4,000 total at UVA, 1817 to 1865. Named individuals. The named individuals, rare records survive. John Hemming, 1776 to 1833, enslaved master carpenter joiner. Half brother to Sally Hemings, Jefferson's enslaved concubine, mother of his children. Built woodwork throughout the rotunda, carved Corinthian capitals, and constructed doors, windows, and furniture. Freed in Jefferson's will in 1826, one of only 5 enslaved people Jefferson freed. Not surprised. James Dinsmore, enslaved, later freed, master carpenter, worked on Monticello, then UVA Rotunda. Precision joinery, proportional knowledge, understood sacred geometry. James Oldham, enslaved bricklayer, laid thousands of bricks for Rotunda area. Hundreds of people unnamed quarried stone. They fired bricks, they mixed mortar, they hauled materials, constructed scaffolding, built the dome. Skilled labor requires knowledge of compression and tension forces. We had all of that. The knowledge they carried, these weren't unskilled laborers. They were enslaved Africans brought from Senegambia, modern Senegal, Gambia, Islamic influence, Moorish architectural knowledge, Gold Coast, modern Ghana, Ashanti, geometric construction traditions, Bight of Benin, modern Nigeria, Yoruba, sophisticated building knowledge. They knew sacred geometry, phi ratio, golden mean, and harmonic proportions. They knew masonry techniques, dry stack, compression domes, load distribution, and they knew astronomical alignment, building orientation, solstice, equinox markers. Jefferson knew how to draw. The enslaved Masons knew how to build, and they built it with their knowledge. Unbelievable. So, the Kemetic origin of that dome. The Pantheon dome equals a Roman copy of earlier Egyptian Kemetic temples. Egyptian precedent temple of Dendera. The Hathor temple, 50 BCE, has dome-like ceiling, not full dome, but carved barrel vault. True domes developed in Moorish Mesopotamia, Moorish Persia, Sassanid Empire 224 to 651, transmitted to Rome via trade. Grid truth. Dome technology equals Kemetic Moorish origin. Copied by Romans and then copied by Jefferson. This is crazy, man. Crazy. Now, moving on to the World's Fairs, the temporary grid experiments. This is funny. So I've been online seeing all these things about Tartaria. What a load of nonsense. These are all Moorish builds, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Tartaria equals a controlled opposition narrative. It's designed to acknowledge real evidence, elaborate 1800s buildings and shared architectural language, and suppressed history. It's a redirect attribution away from Moors and Kemetics toward extinct Tartarians. Inject noise, mud flood, free energy, historical reset to discredit legitimate researchers. Prevent legal claims. If builders are extinct, no descendants can sue for ownership or reparations. Number 5, they fragment resistance. Split truth seekers, some chase Tartaria, some chase Moors, energy divided. Unbelievable. The electromagnetic truth, what the buildings actually are. Every Tartarian so-called building equals Moorish electromagnetic grid node. The function, it's a generator, it's positioned at ley lines, its architectural features, and it's connected to continental global grid network. Why they look similar globally? Because it's the same knowledge source, Kemetic sacred geometry, Islamic expansion, Moorish builders, Freemason preservation, the same electromagnetic requirements, dome shape, column spacing, geometric proportions, and frequency optimization, right? The architecture decoded, the domes, resonance chambers, physical properties, hemispherical, octagonal shape, acoustic resonators, mass overhead equals compression on foundation, piezoelectric charge, generation in the stone beneath, the central oculus, opening at the top, pressure release valve, airflow modulates acoustic resonance. Do you understand? These domes amplify the electromagnetic field. Look, that's what they're built for. Okay? The U.S. Capitol Dome is one of those. The State Capitol Dome is one of those. Islamic domes in Cordoba, Ifshafan, Dome of the Rock, original template. Same electromagnetic engineering. It's the same. It's the same people, the same knowledge builders. Okay? The columns, the conductive pathways, stone, marble, granite columns, spaced in geometric patterns, load bearing and acoustic. They are not telling y'all the truth. Why Corinthian or Ionic Doric capitals? Not just decorations. The capital design equals acoustic diffuser. All of these things are the same. The horseshoe arches, frequency modulators, wider than semicircle. Okay? Islamic innovation, not Roman. Moorish innovation, not Roman. The voisins, the wedge stones, create compression. Keystone principle, the red or white striping, Cordoba, visual encoding, duality, electromagnetic polarity. Why they banned it after Reconquista? The Spanish Christians replaced horseshoe arches with the semicircular. They destroy the electromagnetic function. These buildings were built for resonance, not theological claim. The claim the Islamic symbol must go. All right? It disables the grid node. Cordoba Mosque converted to cathedral. The electromagnetic function degraded. So all of these sites that were resonant, that were built by the Moorish masters, were repurposed, rebuilt, done over, labeled differently. Like honestly, you guys don't realize the foundation is Moors. Okay, it's Moorish. The geometric tiling, all these buildings, yep. Why neoclassical? Buildings have less tile. Okay, so Moorish knowledge lost. The builders knew the geometric tile equals functional, and European copyists thought decorative, right? So we knew it was functional, they thought it was decorative. The cost cutting, the tile is expensive, and they omitted it in the American bills, equals degraded electromagnetic function. Okay? Water features, always close to water. U.S. Capitol, Freemason temples, underground chambers, all of that. Okay? So this is why they have this Tartarian nonsense, right? It's to throw you off. Okay? The Tartaria was necessary because of the problem. Okay? From a colonial perspective, of course. The buildings were too sophisticated, right? Because they were calling us primitive. So how can you have these buildings were way too sophisticated to call anyone primitive that built them? Okay? The Moorish black builders are documented. You can't fully erase them because there's too many witnesses and records. The architecture is obviously Moorish, the horseshoe arches, the geometric patterns and domes, and the reparations risk. If these buildings are deemed Moorish, then the descendants can claim ownership. That's why they're doing all this stuff. Creating Tartarian narrative it actually just protects colonial theft. You guys don't get it, man. It's a psyop, okay? It seed real evidence, okay? So pose photos of elaborate 1800 buildings, the courthouses, capitals, and train stations. You got to point out the architectural sophistication. Note, official history does not explain who built these buildings. Then they introduced Tartaria. These buildings are too advanced for the 1800s. There was a great empire called Tartaria. What a bunch of nonsense. Show old maps with Tartaria label. Tartarians had free energy, advanced technology, a mud flood, blah, 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 blah. History was rewritten to hide Tartaria. So they mixed truth with noise. The truth, the buildings are sophisticated. Truth, the credit was stolen from actual builders. And the truth, the history was rewritten. The noise is the mud flood. The noise is the free energy. And the noise is Tartaria. They don't want to say, yo, black people built this stuff and they're wicked. And we're dope. They don't want to admit that stuff. So they keep lying. Right? They take it away from the Moorish builders, enslaved masons, Islamic architecture, they call it, toward Tartarians, safely extinct, no descendants to sue. Crazy. Discredit by association. Researchers say Moors built the capital. The response, oh, you're one of those Tartaria conspiracy theorists. Do you understand how it works? Okay. Again, so the Iran, Cordoba, and the America connection. Okay. This is grid coherence. Why they look the same. Cordoba, 856 horseshoe arches. Remember we were talking about that earlier? The Isfahan Fahan Bazaar, brick vaulting, Makarna domes, geometric tile, carnavaries, caravaneres, I don't know what the hell that is. But anyway, the electromagnetic function generates 7.83 hertz, geometric array, position, Zayande River, water conductor, Safavid capital, political energetic hub, same as the U.S. Capitol, cast iron dome, Corinthian columns, rotunda, crypt, all that. Position, Potomac River, right by the water. Okay, so all of these shared the same knowledge. And why they're in different style categories? Well, the theft. Cordoba is now labeled as Islamic architecture, which is Moorish architecture or Moorish Islamic builders, black folks, again, right? So it was quarantined to the Middle East, North Africa, and implies knowledge stayed regional. This was Moorish architecture. The Isfahan. The Isfahan, okay, labeled Persian, Safavid architecture, it credits Persians, minimizes African Moorish connection. It's that simple, right? That's all they did, okay? They just relabeled it. And now we move to Black Wall Street, the destruction of an ode, the Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921. The architecture, the Gurley Hotel and Dreamland Theater featured horseshoe arches, geometric, and pressed tin resonance ceilings. The energetic thread, Greenwood was an independent Moorish electromagnetic node. It was an unsynchronized power source separate from the grid that the others were using. The pattern repeated in Rosewood, Florida, and in Seneca Village in New York. Now you know why they destroyed them. They actually bombed Black Wall Street. But anyway, why was Black Wall Street targeted? The official story: white jealousy of black and economic success, racial tensions, false accusations, the Dick Rowland elevator incident, white mobs, violence. The grid truth, deeper layer: Black Wall Street equals independent Moorish electromagnetic node. 300 black owned businesses, economic power, brick buildings with horseshoe arches, Moorish architecture. Position: Greenwood Avenue, Tulsa, on a ley line near Arkansas River. Energetic: economic activity equals electromagnetic generation, money flow, human activity, consciousness focused on prosperity. Moorish architecture: electromagnetic amplification, geometric brick patterns, arch windows, frequency enhancement. Black ownership equals independence, not controlled by white power structure equals not integrated into the colonial grid. Do you get what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? It's an alternative node generated its own electromagnetic field, not synchronized with federal or state grid, independent black governance, self-determined consciousness. The threat: if successful, this model could replicate dozens of Black Wall Streets equals a parallel grid network. This is why they destroyed it. Come on, y'all, wake up. The destruction, May 31st, June 1st, 1921. 35 city blocks burned. Physical destruction, 300 plus killed, human casualties. 10,000 people displaced, communities scattered. The grid effect: electromagnetic node destroyed, brick buildings burned, architecture gone, horseshoe arches, geometric masonry, and everything else. Electromagnetic generators eliminated. Population scattered, community dispersed, consciousness focus broken, no focus activity to generate the field, memory suppressed. Why physical destruction was necessary? Economic suppression alone was insufficient, because we could rebuild if the buildings or the land was intact. Must destroy architecture. Burn the Moorish buildings equals eliminate electromagnetic generators. Scatter the population, break the community coherence, disable biological component of the grid, synchronize human consciousness. Pattern repeated across America: Rosewood, Florida, urban renewal in the 1950s to 1970s. Rosewood was another black town, 200 residents, had their own Masonic lodge. White mob burned the entire town, zero survivors, electromagnetic node eliminated. Urban renewal in the 1950s and 1970s, federal slum clearance programs bulldozed thousands of black neighborhoods. Moorish architecture destroyed, brick row houses, churches, lodges with Islamic arches replaced with concrete projects, no sacred geometry, no electromagnetic function. Gentrification, 1990s to present, black neighborhoods revitalized. Old buildings demolished or renovated. Moorish elements removed. Black residents priced out. Communities scattered. Electromagnetic nodes deactivated. Population dispersed again. The Freemason role: knowledge preservation versus gatekeeping. What Freemasons actually are: they are medieval guilds. Stonemason trade organization, 1000 to 1700 CE. Freemasons, not bound to single lord, traveled, built cathedrals, castles, civic buildings, secret knowledge, sacred geometry, astronomical alignment, and electromagnetic principles. Where the knowledge came from: Moorish Spain. After Reconquista, some Moorish Masons convert to Christianity, join European guilds, and teach sacred geometry. The Crusades, European Knights or Masons encounter Islamic architecture in the Holy Land, 1095 to 1291, and bring the knowledge back. Egypt and Greece, some guilds claim ancient Egyptian Greek origins, Kemetic knowledge preserved through classical era. What they preserved: sacred geometry, astronomical alignment, and electromagnetic principles. Okay, and the split, the operative versus speculative. The operative Masons, 1000 to 1700s, actual builders, stonemasons who cut stone and built structures. Knowledge applied, use sacred geometry in construction, practical applications. Speculative masons, 1700s on. Non-builders, wealthy men, intellectuals, politicals join the Masonic lodges, no longer building, just rituals and philosophy. Knowledge preserved, but mostly symbolic. Rituals about tools, geometry, and building, actual construction knowledge fading. The effect by the 1800s, most Freemasons equals speculative, not actually building. Actual building done by professional architects and contractors who may or may not be masons, but some building companies, families maintain operative tradition. Knowledge passes father to son outside lodge system. Prince Hall Freemasonry, Black Mason tradition. 1775, Prince Hall initiates African Lodge, first Black Masonic lodge in America, Boston, chartered by English Masons, legitimate lineage. Knowledge is preservation, direct Moorish lineage, enslaved Africans to free black artisans to Prince Hall Masons, maintain operative tradition. Many Prince Hall Masons are actual builders, carpenters, stonemasons, blacksmiths. Less dilution. White speculative masonry equals a social club by the 1800s, while black masonry, still building, economic necessity and knowledge preservation. Built black churches with horseshoe windows and geometric detail. They built black business districts, Black Wall Street, and others. Black schools, community centers, Moorish architectural elements. Why Prison Hall separated? White Masonic Lodge excludes black men. Racism, even though knowledge originally African and Moorish. Prince Hall maintains parallel traditions, same degrees, same rituals, same geometry, but racially segregated. Irony, white Masons use African Moorish knowledge while excluding African Moorish knowledge keepers from the lodges. There you have it. Anyway, that is the conclusion of day 7, yo. I wanted to make sure that y'all get a taste of what Moorish architecture is all about. So I wanted y'all to see the Moorish architecture and what I identified is that the horseshoe arches. Look for these things when you're looking at buildings now. Sacred geometry, all those little circles that they have on them churches, that's Moorish. Right? The columns, the big columns, Moorish. The domes, Moorish. The water, aqueducts, and all that stuff, Moorish. The materials, the red brick, the granite, the copper, obsidian, Moorish. Do you understand? That's what you're looking at. So anything you see built like that, that's what you're looking at. Moorish built. That's where the knowledge came from. That's who did it. And like I told you earlier, the builders exalting the labor, right? The reality, the convicts, the post Civil War convict leasing re enslaved black masons to build state capitals. Example, Texas. So that's who was building it. They called them the slaves and they called them this and they called them that. They called us that. But the records of the workers often hide the lineages of Moorish guilds. This was not unskilled labor, yo. They carried the mental blueprints of sacred geometry from Senegambia, the Gold Coast, and of Benin. They knew the proportions of phi and the alignments that the white architects merely copied. They are trying to fool us, yeah. And then came 2023, the year of reclamation. The pivot, the Vatican repudiated the doctrine of discoveries in 2023. Terra nullius is dead. So what they were trying to say, so what the Vatican actually said was, yo, these deeds and stuff that you guys have and these land titles and all that, well, we can't cover them with this doctrine of discovery. When we took the land from the Moors and then we took the land from indigenous people, um, they said that the land was dead, that the land was dead. So if you weren't a Christian and you had land, they would just take it from you. And the Vatican decreed it, and it was enforced by killing and, you know, a whole bunch of other different things. But the Vatican admitted that they were wrong, which opened up a lot of the land claims right now. The Khoisan just won, I forget how much, some 100 million or something like that from the government. Meanwhile, guess what? The Moors have been in this country, in the Americas, for over 100,000 years and have no reparations and no reclamation because they've been lying about Moorish background forever. You understand? America is a Moor home. Do you understand? That is our home. And it's been that way for a long time. Right? That's why we have Moorish treaties. Hello. Like, that's why we have treaties. But the problem is that we don't have the information to back it up. Well, guess what? I have the information, all of it. So if you want to get in touch with me, leave something in the comments, DM me, whatever the case may be. Okay, I have all this information. I figured out a masterful way to check on all this information. It's incredible. And when y'all see it, you are going to flip. When you see the truth, when y'all start to actually listen to what I'm telling you and research what I'm telling you, you're going to trip out. Wait till the 30 days is completed. You are going to trip. This is incredible. So this fraud against us is a really big deal. It's something that we have to take a little bit more seriously because if we don't, we are going to lose everything very, very soon. Our Native Indian brothers and sisters, they don't want to work with us, even though we did work together. When the Inquisition came, we fought together against the oppressor. And at some point, like was done with the Irish indentured slaves, they were given an option to oversee us as opposed to fight with us against them. And they did the same thing with our indigenous native brothers, who are not indigenous, by the way. And they're the second wave through Beringia, the Bering Strait, and they came after. They didn't even get their Asian features until late in the game. So I'm telling you right now, y'all better wake up to this game and wake up to what's happening around you. Okay, it's time to reclaim who you are and reclaim your history because it is amazing. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Be ready for day 8. More good stuff coming at you. All right, take care.